All right, this is the Hangout for Glazes 1 for August. Is it 3rd? I've just been writing 3rd. Oh, it actually is the 3rd. How did I pull that one off? 2016. So we're here. We're at the end. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to get to the last lecture, which sort of becomes, unfortunately, a polyglot of like throwing a lot of content in there, and none of it's very comprehensive. And that's really where Glazes 2 comes in, where we really take a lot of what we've done and dive into all of these subjects in depth. So we sort of go back from the beginning and cover a lot of the things that we sort of uh, uh, glazed over, for lack of a better term, specifically the color, the special effects, but even stuff like there are concepts that we haven't really. I don't even think I mentioned, or maybe it just comes up once. Like there's a concept called phase separation, which is really a form of incomplete crystallization. That comes up a lot in the future. We obviously, like I said, we get a lot more in depth into color because it's a complicated subject. Color is just such a massive subject, but I think that there's a lot of good content in this lecture that went up. I think those are the 3 lectures that went up since we had our last class. I forget whether special effects is up for last week's class, but at this point, everything's on the table, anything through the course as a whole or any of the specific subjects, as always. So, do you guys have any questions?
I just have questions on the color maps,
Mm-hmm.
mostly just because they're so small, and then
Yeah.
again, having pictures on the computer doesn't show it as well as in person.
Right, right.
Um,
You have
the
a specific
mainly,
question?
uh, yeah, for like the red iron oxide, and then a little bit in the yellow iron oxide and the black iron oxide, with strontium, it looks like some of them either have like, I don't know if it's like a crawling issue or just like inconsistent colors, and I'm noticing that there's a couple other ones that look like they're like speckled or have some other things. I don't know if those are just like in the category of like special effects or if those are like some kind of glaze defect.
It's a little bit of everything. Sometimes it's just application. Of course, the truth is, the dirty little secret is a lot of these tests were made by my students, so these were class projects. Quality can be a variable, I guess you could say. Now, with the iron, yes, with the strontium, you're absolutely noticing a variation there. And that is really based on thickness. If you can sort of go back and notice, so like the reduction tests will tend to be brown on one end and red on the other, and it's generally based on thickness. And this is it's a complicated subject that I don't address again. This is sort of where Glazes 2 goes. There's literally an entire lecture in Glazes 2 that's only about iron, because iron's a massive subject. But iron actually naturally reduces very easily, and that natural reduction is easily affected if the glaze is thinner. So oftentimes, if you have a thin application on an iron glaze fired over cone 4, you will just get a natural variation where it will burn sort of a darker color. And that's because, and it's in all 3 of them, and again, that this is something that doesn't really come up in the lectures here, but sort of talking about a lot of the variations between the different colorants. I believe I mentioned that actually yellow iron oxide and red iron oxide are the same thing chemically. It comes down to a concentration issue. Yellow iron oxide is less concentrated, so you can get more subtle effects when you make something like a celadon where you have very little iron. Black iron oxide is another variation, but actually it becomes red iron oxide in the firing because this is metallic black iron oxide, not reduced black iron oxide. And so again, it actually just becomes the same thing. And that's actually a thing with a lot of our colorants. We think a lot of our colorants are sort of different. The oxide form versus the carbonate form, but actually at the end of the day, most of them, you will get exactly the same reaction from the oxide versus the carbonate as long as you adjust for the concentration. Again, the reason why, and we talked about this with the cobalt, is that cobalt carbonate, you get less cobalt per gram, which is important because cobalt is so concentrated and effective that you want to be able to get more subtlety of your color. You need to be able to literally weigh out less cobalt. And that's with all of our materials, manganese dioxide versus manganese carbonate. They're just different concentration levels. Most of the forms of copper, which will come up, are all the same. They all become the same thing of the firing, and we just use them for different concentration levels. So copper carb, copper oxide, they'll generally do the same thing. And the same with iron. They all actually pretty much do the same thing. They just come in different forms and different concentrations. So red iron oxide is common and it's cheap, but it's more powerful. So yellow iron oxide is just more subtle. So yeah, you do get those types of variations. And yes, with the strontium and the reduction, you do get that. Some of the glazes will do streak and peel, and that's mostly just the my student workers sort of taking their liberties with quality. Good question.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I was a little bit surprised by it because I know in the other examples you were showing, in my opinion, the ones with the strontium in them looked the nicest. So it was weird that in this case, they don't.
Well, the one thing I will say is we're currently having a problem with strontium in Alfred. For some reason, the strontium that we're having supplied is not behaving necessarily correctly, and we're having a really hard time identifying why and how. But a lot of our strontium results are inconsistent, which they shouldn't be. There's nothing in strontium that makes it special. Historically, the strontium sources we've had have always worked, and for some reason we're just unable to figure out this one particular problem with strontium. So sometimes the glazes don't look their best or look as completely consistent. But a lot of times strontium gives you really cool colors. Barium gives you really cool colors, and again, if you can sort of hold on to that notion of the what the colorant is plus what the alkaline earth is, plus atmosphere, and atmosphere is actually not much of a player. Atmosphere really only affects copper and iron. Most of our other colorants are completely unaffected by reduction. We sort of put a big big importance behind them, but at the end of the day, they really don't play much of a role. And so, yeah, that alkaline earth and the colorant, that's really where you're going to get your specific colors. And that's a really cool reaction. Any others?
I think that was it for now.
Okay. Kristen, do you have any questions? It's okay.
Okay, so this might be a stupid question. So all my questions might just be stupid. That's what I'm embarrassed about.
Don't.
Is there a stall map that has the cone 6 areas indicated that you can refer to when doing UMF calculations to make sure that like you're in the right area, or do you create like the perfect cone 10 glaze and then just think like you add 0.15 UMF boron and like then you're doing it?
And that's it. That's okay. All it is. Okay, that's what that the second map really describes. The colored map is that what we found is that even at cone 04, at any temperature, the basic rules of Stahl apply as long as you have the appropriate levels of boron. So matte glazes are true mattes at cone 6. I've made absolutely true quality matte glazes at cone 04. You just keep your silica-alumina ratio down. Your flux ratio, which again, is really important. That's a really dangerous thing, and that's what you saw at NCECA this year, of changing that flux ratio. Although it will bring the temperature down, makes the glaze physically weak. But by adding in boron, it actually gets stronger, and what we showed in NCECA is that at cone 04, it's even stronger than cone 6, which is even stronger than cone 10. So you literally just take Stahl. It just universally just across the board. It's really amazing.
Okay. Um, Oh, yeah, here's a really dumb one. So when you ball mill
Mm.
something, which I've never done that, do you put in your like glaze ingredients dry or wet?
Generally, you put the whole thing in wet because you're trying to get that churning motion. You're trying to break up all of the material and mix it, and you really need the water. A bit of emphasis that's put on dry mixing, and I will dry mix things generally just to avoid clumping of one particular material, so it's more homogenized through the batch when I combine it with water. But as far as actual effective mixing, dry mixing is sort of useless.
Okay.
Because there's just there's a handful of dry glaze has trillions and trillions and trillions of particles, and so to mix those doesn't do anything. When you get it wet, you then get friction and churn and hydrodynamics sort of moving those materials and homogenizing them.
Okay. That's it for me.
Okay, good. I get to go to bed. Have you guys had fun? I hope you've had fun. I hope you've learned a lot.
This has been really wonderful.
That's sorry.
Has it? Oh, good. Please tell your students. Again, Sylvia?
Oh, I couldn't hear part of what you said. It got cut off.
Oh, I hope you guys have had fun. I hope you've learned a lot, and I hope it's been approachable. You know, Sylvia, I know that you've had limited background on the subject, so I hope that this has been a good way for you to get in, and it sounds like you've followed along and understanding the text, so I think that's great. Okay, the final is now live. Saying to Krista before we started, make link available, multiple attempts. I will be traveling. I fly and stay overnight at the airport, so I won't be back until Sunday, but please have everything else submitted to me by Sunday, because I think grades are due Monday morning. I'm sure do
Is
fine.
any time on Sunday okay? Does it matter when
again?
on Sunday? Does it matter when on Sunday?
No, not really.
Okay.
Like I said, we're staying at the airport Saturday night. 3 hours for me to get back, so I probably won't be grading anything until Sunday night. So, don't abuse it. Don't make me stay up too late.
Yes, no worries. Understood.
Cool.
Can I be in touch with you in the future if I have questions, or would that abuse this system?
No.
Okay.
No. The only thing I don't do is I do have a lot of industrial customers, or I call students who work in industry. I won't answer who you are, Peter. Sorry, he might be watching this. But no, absolutely, reach out to me if you want to help designing and researching a project. I always advise artists for free. The one catch is that if you email me, you might not hear from me right away, or you might get an email that says, please ask me again after this date, and I will absolutely answer your question. It's just like, if I have something on my plate and I got your email and I want to get to it, yeah, more than happy to help you with dealing with. You said you have to teach this, right? Or you want to teach it?
Oh, me? No, I'm a psychology teacher.
No?
I just want to learn how to
that's right.
actually put together glazes myself, and I think I can do it now based on the stuff in the UMF. It's very accessible sounding,
Right.
but I haven't done it, so I might have some dumb question at some point.
It's totally easy. I mean, and it's one of those things that I think a lot of people think that, oh, well, you learn the theory and that's not real glazes and whatever. And it absolutely is. That the theory applies to real glazes, that, yeah, you have to go out and make them. And I've done everything I've done through making thousands and thousands of glaze tests to try the theory and confirm it, but that the formulas, the literal formulas, relevant. It's really just about the chemistry work, does the temperature work? And then if things don't work, sort of doing the process of elimination to figure out how and why.
Awesome. Cool.
Well, like I said, tell your friends, tell Matt that you enjoyed the experience, Sylvia, hopefully. Yeah. And if you have questions, feel free to email me in the future.
Okay.
Oh, baby's awake. All right, I'm going to go wander the canals of Amsterdam in the middle of the night.
Have a really wonderful time doing that.
Oh, my son wants to go to sleep. He's telling me I have to be quiet. Can you say goodnight? Good night, Eli. All right.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, you guys. It's been fun, absolutely. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.